Good day, everyone. So today the discussion will be regarding the Law on Sales Chapter 4, Obligations of the Vendor. To start first, I will be discussing the Articles 1495 up until Article 1509. So alright, let's start first with Article 1495. So in here, it states that after a valid sale is made, the seller has to deliver the item and the buyer has to pay it. So in simple words, once both sides agree on the sales, the seller must hand over the item and the buyer must pay the agreed price. So these are the main duties of both parties in a contract of sale. Alright, so let's move to the second one, which is the Article 1496. So this is the delivery of the thing sold. So to explain it in simple terms, in here, delivery happens when the seller gives control or possession of the item sold to the buyer. So this can be done physically or symbolically. For example, like handing over the keys to a house or documents of ownership. Okay, so here in Article 1497, this is the physical or actual delivery. So the difference of this one is on this article, it refers to actual delivery. So when the thing sold is handed over physically to the buyer or when the buyer takes possession of it. So for example, if you buy a phone and the seller hands it to you, that's actual delivery. Okay, so on Article 1498, constructive delivery, on this one, it is a symbolic or indirect form of delivery. Even if the item isn't handed over physically, delivery is still considered complete if the seller does something that puts the buyer in control of the item. So for example of this, the signing a document that transfers ownership. Okay, so moving forward to the Article 1499, in here, buyer can check the item before paying unless sealed or agreed otherwise. So if the sale involves delivering the item, the seller must let the buyer inspect the item before paying or accepting it, unless the item is already packaged or the contract says otherwise. So for example of this, if you're buying a rice, you are checking the quality of the rice, right? So you have the rights to check the item before you pay it, okay? Okay, so for the Article 1500, sale is complete once seller accepts payment even without delivery. So if the buyer pays for the item and the seller accepts the payment, the sale is complete even if the item hasn't been delivered yet, unless the law or the agreement says something different. So for example, you bought laptop online and pays it in full. Even if the laptop hasn't arrived yet, the sale is considered complete. Okay? So on Article 1501, selling future goods is just a promise, not a full sale. So if a person sells something they don't own yet, like for example future goods, the sale is not complete. It is just a promise to sell when the seller gets the item. Okay? So on Article 1502, sale of goods to be made isn't final until they are finished and approved. So if someone sells goods that will be made in the future, the sale is not complete until the goods are made and agreed upon. But if the goods are already made and only need to be delivered, it's complete the sale. So one example of this is, for example, you bought a cookie online and it's a homemade cookie. If the cookies are not yet baked, then it is indeed in here Article 1502. Alright, so moving forward to the Article 1503, seller can keep ownership until buyer pays or meets conditions. So sometimes sellers may keep some control over the item until the buyer finishes paying. So the seller can also set conditions for the sale to be final. Ownership passes only when those conditions are met. So for example, somebody sells a bike but says the buyer only owns it once full payment is made. Until then, David still owns the bike. Okay? So on Article 1504, in here, buyer takes the risk after sale unless seller still has duties. So the buyer becomes responsible for the item once it's sold and ready for delivery, even if it hasn't been delivered yet. But if the seller still has tasks to complete, the seller is still responsible. Okay, so for the example, Ella buys a table and it's ready for pick-up. So if a store damages it before pick-up, Ella bears the loss. But if the seller still needs to paint it, the seller is responsible. Okay? Alright, so for the article 1505, you can't sell what you don't own unless the real owner agrees. So you can only sell what you own. If you sell something you don't own, the buyer doesn't become the owner unless the real owner agrees or gives up the item. So, for example, you sell someone's phone without their knowing. The buyer doesn't become the owner until the owner of the cell phone agrees to the sale later. So, on Article 1506, buying in good faith from a store makes you the owner. So, if you buy goods from a store or market in good faith, not knowing that there's an issue with the ownership, you become the owner, even if the seller wasn't the real owner. So, for example, you bought a necklace from a jewelry shop. Then later, it turns out that the necklace was stolen. So, since you bought it in good faith, you get to keep the item. So, moving forward to the next article, 1507, giving goods to a shipper is equals to delivery unless seller keeps control. So, if a seller delivers the item to a shipping company to send to the buyer, it counts as delivery to the buyer unless the seller keeps control over it during shipping. So, for an example, Martin sends a TV to Paul through a courier. Once the courier has it, it is considered delivered to Paul unless Martin says otherwise. Okay, so moving forward to the article 1508, seller can stop delivery if buyer becomes bankrupt. So the seller can stop the delivery or get the goods back while they are still with the shipping company if the buyer hasn't paid yet and becomes insolvent or can't pay debts. So for example, a company sells electronics to a store. The store goes bankrupt before paying, so the company can stop the courier from delivering the goods. Okay? So, or the article 1509, seller can't resell stock goods unless allowed by law or buyer. So, if the seller stops delivery because the buyer cannot pay, the seller can't resell the item unless the buyer agrees or unless it's allowed by law. So, as an example, if the electronics company stops delivery due to the store bankruptcy, they can't just sell the item to someone else unless the law or buyer allows it. So, for the next coming articles, it will be discussed by my other groupmates. Thank you so much.
Article 1510, Law on Sales, clarifies that a document labeled non-negotiable or not negotiable is still a negotiable document of title, and the holder can still negotiate it. This implies that the holder can still obtain ownership of the goods and transfer the document despite these markings, and the warehouseman or carrier is not released from their responsibilities. For example, let's say a warehouse gives a rice shipment on negotiable receipt. Even though the receipt is marked as non-negotiable, the holder can still negotiate it by delivering it to the different person and endorsing it to them. Regardless of the non-negotiable label, the warehouse is still required to deliver the rice to the new holder or to the individual designated by the holder. Article 1511 of the Civil Code explains that non-negotiable documents of title, like receipts or invoices, cannot be negotiated. Delivery is the only way to move them. Only the original holder's rights are transferred to the assignee or transferee. The transferee does not require any rights beyond those of the original holder, even if the document is endorsed. For example, imagine Sarah buys a bicycle from John and receives a receipt. The receipt is non-negotiable document of title. Sarah wants to transfer her rights to the receipt to Maria. She simply delivers the receipt to Maria. Maria now has the same rights that Sarah had, which is to prove she bought the bicycle. If Sarah had falsely stated in the receipt that it was a different type of bicycle than it actually was, Maria can only claim the original rights to the receipt. which is the proof that the bicycle was purchased, but not a particular type of bicycle. Article 1512 of the Civil Code addresses the sale of property with the right of repurchase, often referred to as sale with pacto diretto. It essentially serves as a temporary transfer of ownership with the possibility of the seller regaining it, allowing the vendor or the seller to regain ownership of the property if the right of repurchase is exercised within the predetermined time frame. If the buyer is entitled to exercise their right of redemption, this sale is legitimate and permits them to do so. For example, A sells a house and lot to B with the right for A to repurchase it within 5 years. If A exercises his rights within 5 years, he can regain ownership of the house and lot, and B ownership is extinguished. Article 1513 of the Civil Code deals with the sale of an undivided share in a mass of goods. The owner can only sell an undivided portion of the mass if it is specific or can be made determinate. Whether the mass quantity is greater or less than the quantity sold determines the impact of the sale. Quantity of the mass is more than the quantity sold. For example, in this case, the buyer and the seller become co-owners of the entire mass of goods in proportion to their respective shares. If a store owner sells 100 out of 1,000 bags of rice, the buyer and the store owner become co-owners of the entire 1,000 bags of rice, each with a proportional share. Quantity of the mass is less than the quantity sold. The buyer becomes the owner of the entire mass, and the seller is obligated to make up the deficiency from goods of the same kind and quality unless there's contrary agreement. Example, if a store owner sells 1,500 bags of rice but only has 1,000, the buyer becomes the owner of the entire 1,000 bags of rice. The seller must then provide the remaining 500 bags of rice from the same kind and quality unless they have agreed on something different. Article 1514 of the Civil Code outlines the rights of a person to whom a document of title has been transferred, but not negotiated against the transferor. Subject to any agreements made with the transferor, this individual becomes the owner of the goods in opposition to the transferor. In essence, it makes clear who is entitled to what when a title document, like a bill of lading or warehouse receipt, is transferred to a third party without being formally endorsed. For example, a company or the seller ships a consignment of goods to a buyer and issues a bill of lading as a document of title. The buyer receives the bill of lading but doesn't negotiate it. According to Article 1514, the buyer having possession of the bill of lading has the right to the goods as against the seller. Even if the transfer was not formal negotiation, this means the buyer has a right to claim the goods from the carrier or warehouse holding them. Article 1515 of the Civil Code addresses the effect of a sale when a seller sells a portion of a mass of goods. It basically describes the guidelines that apply when a seller sells an undivided portion of a certain or determinable mass of goods, affecting the buyer and seller's ownership rights. Imagine a warehouse containing 1,000 kilograms of wheat. A buyer purchases 500 kilograms of this wheat. If the seller sells an undivided share of the wheat, for example, 500 kilograms out of total wheat, both the seller and the buyer become co-owners of the 1,000 kilograms, with the buyer owning 50% and the seller owning the remaining 50%. In essence, Article 1515 ensures that the parties' ownership rights are fairly allocated when a portion of a mass goods is sold. regardless of whether the mass is larger or smaller than the quantity sold. Article 1516 of the Civil Code outlines the remedies available to a seller in a contract of sale of personal property where the price is payable in installment. The seller may pursue exact fulfillment of the obligation, cancel the sale, or foreclose on a chattel mortgage, if one exists. If the buyer defaults on 2 or more installments, for example, imagine a buyer purchases a TV on installment plan, agreeing to pay monthly for 12 months. If the buyer fails to pay for 2 months, the seller can choose to sue the buyer to pay. The seller can file a case in court to compel the buyer to make unpaid payments. Second, cancel the sale. The seller can terminate the contract and reclaim the television, effectively ending the installment agreement. Lastly, foreclose on a chattel mortgage. If a chattel mortgage was on the television, the seller can sell the television at auction to recover the debt. Article 1517 of the Civil Code deals with the right of the seller to retain possession of goods until the buyer pays the price. It describes the seller's lien on the sold items, which gives them the right to keep the items until the entire amount is paid. In a sale transaction, this right is essential to protecting the seller's finances, especially if the goods are delivered before the full amount owed is paid. For example, a furniture store sells a dining table to a customer who agrees to pay in installment. The store delivers the table, but the customer doesn't pay the full price. Under Article 1517, the furniture store has the right to reclaim the dining table until the remaining installments are paid. In essence, Article 1517 protects the seller's financial interest in a sale by allowing them to retain possessions of the goods until the full price is paid, ensuring the buyer's obligation to pay is fulfilled. Article 1518 of the Philippine Civil Code addresses the right of redemption in a contract of sale with pacto de retro, where the vendor or the seller can reclaim the sold property by reimbursing the vendee or the buyer the sale price and any expenses incurred. This allows the vendor to reclaim the sold property by paying the buyer back the purchase price plus any associated costs. Under certain circumstances, this right enables the original seller to reclaim ownership. For example, A or the vendor sells a car to B or the vendee with pacto de retro. The sale price is 100,000. B later spends 10,000 on repairs and maintenance. If A wants to redeem the car, they must pay B 110,000 plus 10,000 in addition to any other expenses and taxes incurred before they can regain ownership of the car. Article 1519 of the Philippines Law on Sales, when an owner of a mass of goods sells only an undivided share thereof, the buyer's ownership is determined based on the relationship between the quantity sold and the total quantity of the mass. The parties become co-owners if the mass exceeds the quantity sold. The buyer acquires ownership of the entire mass if the mass is less than the quantity sold, and the seller is required to make up to the difference with comparable goods. For example, a buyer orders a specific type of computer from a seller. The buyer, exercising their right under Article 1519, inspects the computer upon delivery. They discover that the processor is different than the one specified in the contract. In this case, the buyer can refuse to accept the computer because it does not conform to the contract. However, if the buyer had accepted the computer without proper inspection, they would generally be bound by the contract and would have to address any issues without computer through warranty or other legal remedies. Article 1520 of the Civil Code outlines the unpaid seller's right to stop goods in transit. If the buyer becomes insolvent or unable to pay their debts after the goods have been delivered to a carrier but before the buyer has taken possession, the seller may use this right to stop the delivery of the goods. For example, company, the seller A sells a shipment of goods to another company, the buyer B on credit. The goods are shipped by a tracking company to buyer B. However, after the goods are delivered to the tracking company, but before buyer B has taken possession, seller A learns that buyer B has become insolvent. Seller A can then exercise its right of stoppage and instruct the tracking company to hold the goods and not deliver them to buyer B until buyer B's financial situation improves or the price of the good is paid. The Civil Code's Article 1521 addresses the delivery of goods under a sale agreement. It claims that the precise agreement between the buyer and seller, whether express or implied, determines who is in charge of receiving or shipping the goods. Essentially, it makes it clear who is in charge of setting up the actual transfer of the goods. For example, a furniture store or the seller agrees to deliver a sofa to a customer, the contract doesn't explicitly state who will handle the delivery. In this case, Article 1521 would mean the seller is likely obligated to arrange for the delivery. Perhaps by hiring a delivery service and delivering the sofa to the buyer's address. If the contract had specified that the buyer would pick up the sofa from the store, then the buyer would be responsible for taking possession. The Article 1522 discusses what happens when a seller delivers less of goods than agreed upon and gives the buyer the choice to reject it. The buyer must, however, pay the agreed upon price if they accept or retain the goods, knowing that the seller will not fulfill their obligation. For example, a seller agrees to sell 100 kilograms of rice to a buyer. However, the seller only delivers 90 kilograms. The buyer can reject the 90 kilograms, but if they choose to accept or keep them, knowing that the seller won't deliver the remaining 10 kilograms, they must still pay the 90 kilograms at the agreed upon price per kilogram. Article 1523 of the Civil Code of the Philippines addresses the transfer of ownership in a sale of goods. Generally speaking, it says that when the goods are delivered to the buyer of their designated agent, the buyer becomes the owner. There are some exceptions though, especially if the seller uses a bill of lading or another contract to reserve ownership. For example, imagine a seller sells a good to a buyer, but the goods are shipped by a carrier. If the bill of lading is made out to the buyer's order and the buyer receives the goods, ownership generally passes to the buyer upon delivery. However, if the seller retains the bill of lading, they still control the goods and ownership until they release the goods to the buyer, even though the goods have been delivered to the carrier. Article 1524 of the Civil Code deals with the concept of double sale of the same thing. It basically describes the guidelines for determining who is entitled to ownership of an item after it has been sold to several buyers. For example, a seller sells a used car to two different buyers at the same time. If both buyers are in good faith, the car's ownership will go to the buyer who first takes possession of the vehicle. In essence, Article 1524 prioritizes the buyer who first acted in good faith to establish ownership of the thing sold in a situation where there are multiple sales of the same property.
Article 1525, when the full price of the goods has not been paid or tendered, the seller is considered an unpaid seller. The seller is also unpaid if a check promissory note, or other negotiable instrument was given but was later dishonored or not paid. In this context, the seller also refers to agents, consignors, or any other persons responsible for the price. Furthermore, the seller is still unpaid if full payment is not received, even if the buyer finally gets the goods. And partial payment still means that the seller is unpaid. For example, if person A sells a book to person B for 10,000 pesos and person B gives a partial payment of 3,000 and promises to pay the rest next month, person A agrees, but A is still unpaid because the full payment is yet to be received. Under Article 1526, an unpaid seller still has special rights over the goods, even if the ownership is passed to the buyer. The seller can retain the possession of the goods or right of lien, stop the delivery if the buyer is insolvent, resell the goods if the buyer fails to pay, and rescind or cancel the contract. The seller can withhold the delivery of the goods until payment is made if the ownership is not transferred to the buyer. When an unpaid seller still holds the good, he or she is entitled to retain possession over them until payment has been made or the price. The seller can hold the goods if the payment is not on a credit basis, credit is overdue, or the buyer becomes insolvent. Here's a situation. Person A sells a home to person B. No credit agreement. Person A can demand payment immediately, but if person B does not pay, A can hold the product. Another is if the transaction is in 1 month credit. A month has passed, but B still does not pay. Person A can retain the home until the payment has been paid. In Article 1528, even if the unpaid seller has delivered part of the goods, the seller can still exercise the lien unless he or she gives up the rights clearly and intently. The seller does not lose the right over the remaining goods if partial delivery has been performed. But if the seller intentionally waives the lien is lost. For example, person C sells a dozen sacks of rice to person D. Half of it has been delivered, but no payment has been made. The seller can hold the remaining sacks until the buyer pays. Here, person C keeps the right of lien. Under Article 1529, an unpaid seller loses their lien if the goods have been delivered with no conditions, the possession is transferred to the buyer, or the seller waives the lien. In Article 1530, if the buyer becomes insolvent and the goods are still in transit, the seller has the right to stop the delivery. The seller can repossess the goods while in delivery. So, if person C sells a dozen sacks of rice to person D, and while in delivery the seller learns that the buyer is unable to pay, the former can stop the delivery and take back the goods. The following are the requisites of this article. The seller must be unpaid. The buyer must be insolvent. The goods must be in transit. The seller must take possession or notify the carrier. The seller must surrender any negotiable instrument if there is any, and the seller must bear the cost of getting the goods back. This article shows when goods are in transit or not. If goods are in transit, they are with the carrier and has not yet been received by the buyer or rejected by the buyer, but the carrier still has them. However, they are no longer in transit if the buyer or the agent received them. Carrier acknowledges that the possession is now on the buyer, or the carrier refuses to give it to the buyer. Unless the seller made it clear that they gave up the possession of the goods, they can still stop the delivery of the rest if the parts have delivered. For example, the dozen sacks of rice are in a truck being delivered. Person C can stop the truck in transit if person D suddenly becomes insolvent. However, if the goods are already in person C's possession or the carrier holds the goods for the buyer, the seller loses their rights. Under Article 1532, when the goods are in transit, the unpaid seller can stop the delivery by actually or physically obtaining the goods back or notifying the carrier to prevent the delivery to the buyer. The seller must surrender negotiable instruments if there are any before the goods can be returned. Also, the seller must bear the cost of taking back the goods. In Article 1533, if the unpaid seller still has the rights of lien or has stopped the goods while in transit, they may resell the goods if perishable. There is agreement in the contract that allows resale or there is a delay in payment. The seller is not required to notify the buyer for reselling the goods if the conditions mentioned are met. For example, if person E sells avocados to person F, the payment would be made on delivery. Yet F did not pay. Since the goods are fruits and fruits are perishable, person E can resell them to another person. Under Article 1534, an unpaid seller can rescind the sale if there is a right in the contract or there is a delay in payment or an overdue. With this, the seller gets back the possession, the buyer loses all the rights, and the latter is liable for damages by breaking the contract. However, there must be a clear intention that the seller is canceling the sale. For instance, if the seller clearly stated in the contract that they can cancel the sale if the buyer fails to pay, the seller has the right then to rescind the sale and take back the goods. The buyer cannot demand it, but the seller can sue for damages if there are any losses. In Article 1535, even if the buyer sold the goods to others, the unpaid seller still has the rights unless the latter agrees. But if there is any negotiable instrument or document that was given in good faith, the seller loses the rights. So if person A sells goods to person B, then person B sells them to person C, but person B is not paid yet, person A still has the rights to retain them. But if person B gives a valid receipt in good faith to person C, person A loses their rights. Under Article 1536, the seller can refuse the delivery of the goods if the buyer loses their rights to use the payment term if the sale is made on credit. Hence, the seller can hold the goods if the buyer is suddenly unable to pay and could not give any promise. The buyer fails to give security or a mortgage. The mortgage is damaged. The buyer fails to comply with the condition of the credit, or the buyer shows a sign of avoiding payment. For example, if G sold a car to H on credit, but H tries to run away or has failed to give any mortgage, G can keep the car. In Article 1537, the item to be delivered must be in the same condition as when it was on sale. Any fruits or benefits of the item belong to the buyer from the date the contract was made. The seller has the duty to keep the item safe until it is delivered. Hence, if person I sold a tree to person J and the tree already has fruit, after the contract, J possesses that fruit. Under Article 1538, if the goods get lost, damaged, or improved before the delivery, these rules must be applied. First, if the thing is lost without the seller's fault, the sale is extinguished. Second, if it is lost through the seller's fault, they must pay for damages. Third, if it gets damaged without the seller's fault, the buyer suffers the damage. Fourth, if it gets damaged because of the seller, the buyer can receive or demand the fulfillment of delivery plus the damages. Fifth, if it gets an improvement on its own, on its nature, the buyer has the benefits. And last, if the seller has spent money for improvement, they have no rights to demand extra payment. Under Article 1539, if real estate is sold and their unit or area is stated, the seller must deliver it fully. But if it is impossible to deliver, a price reduction must be applied or the sale can be cancelled. This is for the buyer. If the quality is worse but the size is correct, the same rules must be applied. So, if person K sells a 500 square meter lot to person L, but in reality it is only 450, person L can either ask for a price reduction or cancel the sale.